Hello and welcome, bookworms, and happy holidays. And I'm gonna say this every video through December, so just bear that in mind. Welcome to this week's episode of The Contented Narrative. We are looking at The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. I mean, it is a hefty book, and obviously it is a cloth-bound classic, because you know I like my fancy ones. And honestly, it is a classic. It is an old story, and I always feel like when people are going, oh yeah, the classics, and you have to read this and you have to read that, and I'm like, but do you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, you've not read Shakespeare? Okay, fine. Like, I do, don't get me wrong, I love Shakespeare and I have read Shakespeare, but I always feel like the people that build their personalities around reading classics, they're a glutton for punishment because they're not easy reads. I'll tell you that now. Like, I loved the book, I loved the storyline, but I will say it's not an easy read because some of it is like the exposition and the backstory and the build up and the descriptions and everything. Some of it is really hefty and some of it is not needed. But obviously that's just my opinion. And again, you can agree or disagree with whatever I'm saying. But you're following Dante, and essentially what happens is Dante has a great life. He does. He's working on a ship, and he's got his person in charge. Like, the captain dies and he takes over, and then he brings it back to port, and he's about to be promoted to captain. He also has a girlfriend that he's willing to marry, that he's been courting. You know, he's doing really well in life, basically. And on the night of his wedding, because there are people that are unhappy that he's doing so well, they decide to write a letter to say that he's a traitor. So during this as well, you've got Napoleon, sort of like, so at the time they were like, he's supporting Napoleon, then Napoleon comes back into power, then he doesn't, but so they write a letter and they go, he's a traitor, he's supporting Napoleon, he's doing X, Y, and Z, this is the letters that he's supposed to do. So then he ends up in prison. Now, there is a film version, and apparently the film version, he's in prison for not that long, but in the book, he is in prison for quite some time. And then basically what happens is once he makes friends with somebody in the cell next to his, and this person keeps going on about he's got this treasure. He's got this treasure and so on and so forth. And when he breaks out, he's going to go to find this treasure. And then unfortunately he gets ill. So Dante sees this as his way of breaking out by pretending to be the dead body. Almost doesn't go to plan, but he does. So he breaks out, and like, by the way, this is all like in the first half of the book, so there's no spoilers. So he breaks out to go to basically go find this treasure, and he finds this treasure and he reinvents himself as the Count of Monte Cristo. And then he goes on this epic like revenge quest to find out who wronged him, how he ends up in prison in the first place. And for those that were always supported and loyal and everything to him, he gives money and he helps them in their businesses, and he's really, do you know what I mean? He's a great friend, but he's always like the elusive Count of Monte Cristo. They don't know who he is. And for those that wronged him, his revenge is brilliant. And I love this because it's such a huge, essentially it is a revenge story, and it does build on like the characters around them, and like part of you's like, oh, I really want them to get what they deserve. And then when the way that he does it and the way that he gives the people what they deserve, sometimes you're kind of sat there going, I wouldn't have done it that way. Like, that's not what they deserve. They deserve this. But I love it. And I like, honestly, when it comes to classics, it was a bit of a slog. I will say that now. So if you're looking to start it, you might read some other books in between, like I was doing. Because it is quite a big boy. But it was so much fun, and I did enjoy it, and I loved the characters, and I loved like the retribution, and I loved, like, it felt satisfying, and it felt like, okay, this is what's going on. And he doesn't just come out and like get everybody to duel him. He'll go out and he'll be like, right, okay, well, this person who helped me is struggling with his business, I'm going to buy all his debts. Then I'm going to make him a successful merchant again, and his debts will disappear, so he doesn't go under. But this person that wronged me, I'm gonna do this to him, and because I'm not going to tell you what he does, because I want you guys to like fully understand it. But it's so much fun and it's so interesting. But I will say, as I said, it is a slog, and there are parts that do feel a little bit long-winded that aren't necessarily needed. But as classics go, it was thoroughly enjoyable. I probably won't reread this one in the future, but potentially I might, depending if I've got a few years to kill. If I win the Euro Millions and I'm lounging on the beach somewhere, I might give this a read again. But I would definitely recommend giving it a go. But leave below in the comments what you think. Leave below in the comments what your favourite classic literature is. Do you know what I mean? And if I've not read it, I'll add it to my list, especially if it's a cloth-bound classic. I love those. But obviously, you know, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for watching these videos. So happy holidays, and remember to always keep it contento.